Ben Gertzel here. I just got home from a few days in South Korea where I was discussing an initiative to set up an AGI campus, an AGI lab there, together with some university, industry, and government people. So while there, we had a meeting with the vice minister of Korea, who's a guy who we already knew because he came to our BGI event in Panama City, I guess it was last year. He's written a new book on topic of AI. I haven't ran it through Google Translate to read it yet. My Korean is very weak, but I noticed a cool picture of myself and Tufi Saliba from Hypercycle in there, and as well the little Cody robot, right? Who is from the Mind Children project, a spin-off of Singularity Net, and Mind Children is seed funded partly out of South Korea, and more importantly, the plan is to scale up manufacture of Cody once the prototypes get a little further along, to scale up manufacture in Korean factories, right? So I mean, it's not the first time I've seen interest from national leaders in AGI, right? I mean, probably 15 years ago, almost 20 years ago, I guess, we talked to Fernando Henrique, who at the time was fresh out of the Brazilian presidency, about AGI in Brazil, right? And we brought Sophia Robot to the presidential palace of Abiy in Ethiopia shortly after he took over leadership of that country. But I would say now it's different. I mean, now you have leadership of major technological powers. I mean, not just the vice minister of Korea, but the president himself, full on interested in like what can we do to advance toward AGI in our country. And of course, Chinese American leadership are thinking that way in their own ways too, right? And what we're doing with Singularity Net, SI Alliance, and Hyperon is beautifully global and international. So like we can do a lot with Korean government and Korean universities, but everything we're doing is open source, open science, and open decentralized networks. So like we're not pinned there. That becomes, a subnetwork of nodes in the global network. And I mean, all this starts to me think about Elon Musk's casually tossed off statement that like singularity is here. We're in it, right? No, I don't quite feel that's the best way to phrase it, because we don't yet have AIs smarter than people. Like we don't yet have each of our mobile phones making 25 Nobel Prize level discoveries each minute. Like we're not quite yet there, but we're not in the era of abundance yet. People are still struggling to pay their rent. Some people are struggling to feed their children, right? But on the other hand, on the historical timescale, we're so close, right? Like another book sitting on my desk here, my old friend Ray Kurzweil, the singularity is nearer, and it certainly is, right? And then the book my dear friend Gabriel Axel and I put together a couple years ago, The Consciousness Explosion, right? So human consciousness is changing and evolving all the time, but the consciousness of the global brain that we're all embedded in, involving our computers, communication networks, our AI and non-AI programs, like the consciousness of the global brain is just, it's fucking exploding at a remarkable speed now, right? I mean, the global brain, you could argue at the moment, is a bit of an idiot savant. Our collective intelligence is terrible in some ways on this planet, and brilliant in others, but the rate of advance is tremendous, right? And I mean, it does feel like the very end of the pre-singularity era, which is what makes it especially important that we guide the next stages of development in the right direction, you know. And it's really interesting to see how things are unfolding and to be part of it. I've been thinking a lot lately about the sort of recursive feedback loops that provide acceleration, right? Like you look in the cover of the Vice Minister's book, you've got these cycles of circuits kind of spinning around. And I mean, one of these circuits that's quite interesting that I've been thinking about a lot recently is how AI already is and will soon even more emphatically accelerate the advancement of AI, right? So you see out of OpenAI and out of Anthropic, you see people saying, hey, we're using our AI to develop our next AI, right? And so without the AI we have now, we couldn't develop the next version of the AI nearly as rapidly as we're being able to. So one thing that struck me in the last couple weeks as I plan out SingularityNet and ASI Alliance and Hyperon technology plan for the next year, one thing that strikes me is we're close to that point for our Hyperon ASI chain decentralized AI program. Like, we're not there yet where our own AI tools are accelerating our AI development, but we're, I mean, months, not years away from that point. So we're looking at the product we've been calling qwestor, qwestor, and we've been experimenting and prototyping with qwestor. And the form qwestor is taking for us now in our prototyping is initially a tool for helping with various hardcore research projects. So say develop a new machine learning algorithm, develop a new quantitative finance DeFi trading tool, figure out why a certain pathway underlying longevity is affecting certain population in a certain way based on some medical data, solve a certain hard math theorem, figure out a business plan for a complex business nested in a confusing global supply chain. So if we make the qwestor product a product specialized initially for helping with hardcore research problems, which is one direction that we're exploring with and playing with now with early versions of qwestor. I mean, this can be valuable for a lot of people doing many different kinds of research, but a key aspect is we can use it ourselves, right? We can use it to accelerate our own research. So the first version of qwestor will be a bunch of LLMs and then bits and pieces, probably of some Hyperon tooling and other AI scripts that we've written. qwestor version 2 will be more full-on Hyperon, right? So it will use probabilistic logic reasoning to help you organize and conduct your research projects and analyze the data from all your different experiments and make guesses about how to pivot around obstacles or choose what thing to do next. It will use MetaClaw, the variant of OpenClaw in our Meta AGI programming language to help it carry out a whole bunch of different actions, using different online tools. And so once you get to this Hyperon and MetaClaw powered version of the qwestor research assistant, which is, proceeding according to its own motivations, including the desire to help you, and keeping on to help you with your research even when you're sleeping at night with its autonomous motivation system. Once we have a version of qwestor that leverages our Hyperon AI in a powerful way, then you're in to the feedback loop that folks at OpenAI and Anthropic are talking about, right? Then we're into the point where our Hyperon advances are making qwestor smarter, which is helping us do our research faster, which is then helping us make Hyperon smarter faster, which is making qwestor faster. And you've got a positive feedback cycle like the ones he talks about in this book and puts on the cover, right? So, now there's a certain point when the strategic judgment and the ability to make imaginative leaps and pivots on Hyperon's part is sufficient that, qwestor's motivational system does the whole research project, right? And then the humans are just overseeing. Before that, you have the phase where the AI is doing most of it and the humans check the results and make sure nothing went awry, and they jump in when the AI got stuck or needs strategic direction, right? So we can see here quite concretely what it means to be in the last phases before the singularity, like what it means for the singularity to be a hell of a lot nearer, right? Because it's step by step. So we have now crude AI tools that are not AGI worthy, like LLMs, are accelerating the progress of their own next version in a concrete way. We have more advanced tools like Hyperon that are just beginning to get implemented and played with at scale. And we can see how within this year, we're going to be able to start using Hyperon to accelerate Hyperon's own development. We're going to be able to do it on a decentralized network, with some decentralized community guidance rather than within a single monolithic company and server farm. And we're doing it with what appears to be a much more AGI and ASI worthy architecture than LLMs, because LLMs are super cool, but they can never leap that far beyond the data that's fed in, whereas Hyperon is designed to be able to take those creative leaps, right? So this is if you blur out a little bit and don't try to look too precisely, the singularity is here. If you try to hone in more exactly, we're not quite there yet, but we can see the sort of feedback loops and accelerating processes compound in a way that's that could get us there quite rapidly. And there is a bunch of uncertainty about how things will unfold, but I feel happy that over the last decades, my colleagues and I have put a lot of thinking into cognitive architecture and decentralized governance and guidance, and how to make AIs remain compassionate and ethical through iterated self-modification and self-improvement, even when the world starts going crazy. So we're plunging into a period with a lot of uncertainty, but we are doing it, in a way that's guided by a lot of deep thinking and, research prototyping over the last years and decades. But we're now in the period where the shit gets real, right? And national leaders around the world can see it. Those of us in the middle of building it can see it, I guess, even more clearly. And I will keep you all posted step by step. And I think it's the right time for more and more people to jump in to help with this development and make sure we can steer it in the right way. Like, Meta is out there, our knowledge graph is out there, our Meta Claw, sort of open claw-ish prototype is out there, and now's the time when we can use more and more people to plunge in and help develop these things. I mean, we were just discussing this morning, okay, take MetaClaw, put it inside the Fire node, the ASI chain node that Greg Meredith's team at Firefly has developed, and you have there the foundation of a secure and stable OpenClaw type system with the right data structures and dynamics to add more and more advanced AI into. And this is exactly the kind of thing we would love to see, a whole bunch of genius open source developers plunge into and help with, right? Like I think we're on track to not just pull off the singularity relatively soon, but to make it broadly beneficial for humans and other sentient beings. But it's a lot to do, and I think in this next phase we're going to need to reap some of the positive benefits of doing everything open source, open science, and pull in more and more community to help take the next steps. And of course, more and more people getting involved in making this happen is part of the consciousness explosion, right? Like, I mean, because the agency one feels from playing a part in bringing this amazing stuff about is part of the growth process of our own consciousness as we plunge into this singularity. Because this shouldn't just be something that happens to us, right? I mean, to an extent, there are forces that none of us can understand that are driving all this evolution forward, but there's also a role for our own agency in directing bits and pieces of this flow in ways that we think are beneficial, right? And it's by exercising our bits and pieces of agency in helping drive the flow forward. I mean, it's by doing that we we take our own quantum of ownership of the singularity, which is key for growing and expanding our own selves as everything transitions so radically.